Ladies and gentlemen, it is your host, Brennan Lafferty, back at it again. Little change of scenery here, not in the studio today. If you are watching this, this is a reposted episode. For those of you who do not know, last year when we started the club, we posted a couple of episodes on Spotify, and they all got removed. We don't really know the reason why, but I still have the files of the audio recordings. So for the next couple of days, I'm going to start reposting some of the old episodes. Yeah, so feel free to tune in. If you are watching this on YouTube, our SoundCloud links will be above. And for all listeners, if you want to follow us on Instagram, follow us at LHS_podcast_club for updates and extra info about the next episode. So yeah, thank you for tuning in and enjoy the pod. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Brennan Lafferty, joined alongside my co-host Ranit Sinha. Welcome back to the Tigers Today podcast coming from Littleton High School. Of course, we are joined by Owen, and
Hello.
Today we have two special guests. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Mubishere Bradshaw. Excited to be on the podcast, ready to chat.
And I am Harish Ganesh, also very excited to be on the podcast, and let's go.
It's great to have you guys.
Love the crew today. This will be a good
Yes.
episode.
Great episode.
Hey, you said you had something to start out
Well,
asking Harish.
before we start, I'd say the topic of this podcast is more of a business finance-esque. I would say we have two fine entrepreneurs with us today, two very successful gentlemen.
You're gassing up Mubishere a little bit. I don't know about that one.
But I would like to start off. The reason why I would like Harish to be on this podcast is over the summer you had an internship. And can you tell us about that, a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I interned at the Massachusetts State House for the office of a state senator named Jamie Eldridge. And so my role as a senator, obviously as a high school student, they didn't give me too much responsibility, but they did give me the opportunity to go to a lot of events, a lot of meetings. And so I gained a lot of insight on a lot of topics of the day, including economics, including finance. And so is there anything like specific?
Well, I would just say I saw that you published a couple of articles.
Right.
Was that a requirement of the internship or like whatever the program you call it, or did you do that like for fun? Like how did that work?
Well, I started out writing, for the internship, but I figured, I did enjoy it quite a bit. And so I recently joined an organization run entirely by high school students in Massachusetts called the Junior Economic Club.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
so they run a publication called the Boston Junior Economist, and so I decided why not. When they reached out to me, I started writing a few articles, and then it got published. So yeah, that's good.
What'd you write about?
Well, I wrote about a number of topics. I really wanted to come out with I wanted to start strong, and so I wrote a very detailed first article. It's a 6-minute read. It's online if you want. It was about how
Link in bio. We'll put link in bio.
it's about how different geographies, like the difference between, say, the northern U.S. and the southern U.S. created different climates, which created different economies, and that's still visible to this day, even though we've moved on from the days of agriculture and factories.
Very interesting.
Cool.
Very
So
interesting.
you've had a pretty business, maybe a little bit of political science, economic focus in school and in your extracurricular life. What are you hoping to develop that into in the future?
Well, obviously finance is a bit of a lucrative field, so there definitely is that element. But on a more important, it's also, beyond yourself, it's important to help other people. And so I think increasing financial literacy in, younger people around the country, I think less than 40% of American adults are financially literate. And I saw a survey recently that said 84% of American adults entered adult life, and they believed that they didn't know how to manage their money properly.
Wow.
And so I definitely think that in a country like the U.S., it's important to have financial literacy going out into the market, especially when the U.S. offers so many things to do with your money and so many, there's types of, I guess there's a lot of things you can do with your money that aren't discussed enough in school, and so it's important to
Yeah.
expand knowledge.
So are you saying you'd like to go into a job that, like a financial advisor, to help people with their finances?
Well, I mean, you know, my job aside, that's always going to be an individual thing. But I think from a perspective that impacts the nation and impacts Littleton especially, I think apart from work, we can all advocate and work on financial literacy. You know, which is important to enter the modern world with better financial literacy than we currently have.
Yes.
To add on to that, Harish is also a fellow DECA member, you know.
I'm a DECA
So-
member.
This was my first year of DECA,
Mm-hmm.
and I already know that you have experience in the business field. What kind of sparked you to go in the business direction? Like, what were some of the reasons why you started to do some like business activities?
So interestingly enough, a lot of people do believe that the business interest came first and then I joined DECA. But interestingly enough, when the opportunity to join DECA came about at Littleton, I kind of just joined because it was new and they were talking about going to Florida. I will be honest with you,
Yeah.
that's why I joined. But when I started doing the activities, I developed, you know, a lot of interest in that field. And then I qualified for states, which it gave
Yeah.
me a dual experience of like an amazing, like fun experience while also learning so much about economics,
Right.
as well as meeting a lot of like industry professionals and like seeing how that industry works in the real world. So I definitely think that my experience with DECA created my interest in the business direction, and then that's going back to, you know, working on our DECA chapter.
Nice.
Yeah. And Mubishere, you're also financially minded in a sense?
Yeah, I would say so. I personally want to be an entrepreneur. Over the summer, I started my own sort of clothing brand, upcycling clothes, selling them on various websites,
Okay.
making profits, and then reinvesting if I can, stuff like that.
So you got like stock stuff going on.
I've tried a lot of what you could say business models, but the best are the ones that you don't need to that you can teach yourself. You shouldn't be paying for to be taught. You can be able to learn everything.
So,
Okay, I see.
what do you plan to do this summer as an entrepreneur?
And as you're going into college.
Well, I plan to hopefully complete a business website page for either my clothing or any other entrepreneurial ideas that I have. By the end of college, not by the end of college, by the end of my summer before going to college, I want to have an actual business running. And by the end of my college experience, I want to either have one, maybe couple businesses that I can personally be running that are
Love
low
it.
maintenance but easy to manage.
Yeah, I think a very high controversial topic is people not going to college. I feel like recently on social media there's this everyone believes that you can't don't go to college, it's terrible for you, you're wasting your money, stay at home, drop ship, entrepreneur. I think that is completely crap. I think that college is a great backup. You're not guaranteed that your e-commerce business is going to work every time. It's always, I think, amazing to have a great backup education, and it's always a good thing to have in your back
What a
pocket.
lot of people don't understand is all those people, all those TikTok, Instagram, YouTube gurus that are teaching you how to dropship, you know where all their money's coming from?
Their parents.
They're teaching you by making you buy their course, and you pay for their
That's facts.
you pay for their monthly course. Boom, they're getting money by telling you some straight BS they don't even know. Maybe some people do, but most of them don't actually do that. They're making all their money from you, not from their drop shipping.
Yeah.
All the screenshots, everything they're showing you is not from their drop shipping.
They'll make a
Yeah.
full pitch on how to get 6 figures in 10 minutes.
And
Yeah.
it's not even
At the
close
end of the
to true.
video, it's always their course, like you said. And it's
If you can't understand anything else, throw in my course and 100% blah blah guaranteed. None of that.
And that's the thing, even if they
always
don't
advocate.
join your $10 course, you give them that full view till the end of the video. Guys, TikTok and YouTube, they pay per views. I think YouTube might be, I don't know what YouTube is, but TikTok is
1,000.
TikTok is 1,000 views. You get I don't know, 10 cents a cent or
No,
something.
it's $1 now. They moved it up a lot. That's why
Exactly.
people on TikTok are making a lot of money. So if you get
I could be rich
3.5 million views on
Yeah.
one video, that's
Yeah.
$100,000.
It's
Off
crazy.
a video.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're just entrapping you, and they're making money off you, off your ignorance.
Yeah. There's a Since you're both looking into the financial world and entrepreneurship and business, how has that, this goes for both of you, how has that affected your life as you go through your school years before college? Like, for instance, are there certain classes you've avoided, certain classes you've definitely taken that you knew you were going to take if you wanted to get into finance?
Well, I mean, I think from an academic point of view, I think obviously AP macroeconomics, microeconomics. I think statistics helps you a little bit there too. But I also think that, you know, regardless of what you want to do, if finance is what you really want to do, I still think it's important to take your other classes, you know, equally as seriously and still do a bit of exploring. And I think that goes for everyone and not just people who are into finance. But
Yeah.
A lot of the things that you'll learn in finance you might not find on your regular high school class options, so you might have to look elsewhere. You might have to do VHS, online course, not online course, but like online teaching from other people, maybe do your own research on it. But yeah, like economics, all those ones are good to help you out.
Yeah. One question I've always had, what's the difference between macro and microeconomics?
Size.
Is it like sample size of the...
Well,
Right.
macro, small, macro, large.
But yeah, if you're talking about like the courses, AP macro and microeconomics, macroeconomics focuses a lot on like in a country, when the overall, say, customer sentiment of hundreds of millions of people is bigger or smaller, or when, say, like a central bank or a government takes an action, how does that affect the overall economy? And microeconomics is more focused on like, okay, as a business owner, how do I make the right decision? As a consumer, how do I decide which product is in my best advantage? And so, yeah, going back to Mubishere's point, overall it is really just like on a larger scale versus on a smaller scale.
Yeah, okay.
Do you guys think that Littleton High School offers a good variety of courses for possibly finance, business, really anything
With what we're
in general?
given, I feel like it's
Yeah.
fair. You know, AP macro is coming back next year, only a 1 year break.
So I'm taking AP economics through VHS this year, but I think you guys bring up a good point. Is you can only have so much expectation from a school of 440-ish kids.
Yeah.
True.
But I think for what we have a relatively good size. We have financial algebra, we have intro to economics, we have AP macros coming back. We also have the VHS option, but I also think our DECA chapter is a great way to get involved if that's
That's
something.
true. DECA seems like a very popular thing these past few years.
Right, and since DECA has their either a paper or a 100-question exam, a good amount of studying for that involves gaining financial knowledge, because when I was studying for my finance cluster exam, I had to learn a lot of things like the difference between an operating budget, a master budget, and a cash budget, for example, the difference between a balance sheet and an income statement. So I definitely think there's opportunities to get involved, and I think we do a pretty good job for a school as small as ours.
Yeah, and you mentioned still incorporating other subjects into your learning experience to keep yourself well-rounded. Are there any classes that you would say come from other subjects that would also help you? Like, for instance, do you think taking a sociology class would help you understand why people make the economy change in the way it does? Or some kind of English class would help you?
Well, if you're a business person and you do terrible in English, you're trying to propose an idea for your business, but your words are all messed up. You're you're not conveying your message quickly, concisely, with good vocabulary. People are gonna be like, "Is this guy really know what he's talking about?" So you do need to take your other courses seriously. You need to try as hard as you can all of them, and try to keep them all up.
To add on to Mubishere's point, I think he's right that your other classes are definitely connected to even the classes you're interested in. For example, like in your history class, you'll learn that there's a lot of economic impacts of everything that happens in history. You might not think that a war or a plague, for example, would affect the economy, but they actually have huge impacts on the economy. Same thing with psychology and sociology courses. Like understanding how people behave better is going to help you understand why they make economic decisions as well. So I think beyond just being a well-rounded student, if you truly are interested in finance economics, you'll find that your other classes are very well tied to that. And Mubishere brings up a great point, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You're going to need a lot of your core classes.
Yeah.
And I feel like from a business approach in general, like, and you're looking at all these other classes, you're always trying to just see how you can apply it to your real life. You know, that can be everyone, but I feel like even more, if you're looking towards the business field, you do that to a higher extent. And so I feel like it doesn't really matter the class. I
Yeah.
feel like you can always turn something from what you're learning in a different class and apply it to how you will use that in real life. in the
Yeah.
future.
I think that relates a little bit to the commonly heard grievance from students. Oh, why don't our math classes teach us how to do taxes
Yeah.
since it's relevant in our life? And that kind of stuff. You can connect it back to
Exactly.
that.
No, yeah.
And even within individual classes, like, I'm not financially smart, but like I take AP Bio, for example. We do a lot with statistics and probability in that, which can be connected back to finance. So even in classes that you at first glance would say, I don't see what that has to do with economics, there's just, you can find something anywhere, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Good point.
Harish, you went you went to Ryla, correct?
I did go to Ryla.
So I want to bring up a point, kind of going back to what Mubishere was saying about like English class. So right when we got out of school, I went to, it was called the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. Harish and I went there, and it was basically a camp at Fitchburg State. It was over the course of 3 days. We stayed there 2 nights. It was really fun. It was a lot of leadership. Like, how would you describe it? Like,
I mean, I think it was really just like leadership exercises for kids who, I think it was intended for kids who had potential to lead, but maybe hadn't tapped into that fully, or just like there was more to be learned. And I think it was great. Yeah.
yeah, so Mubishere was saying how, like, if you are poor in English class, you could have trouble proposing a business idea, possibly. And one of the exercises they had us do was we couldn't use filler statements. So a filler statement is if you're talking to someone, you say, if it's like that stuff. So we had to we were given a random topic, and we had to talk about it for a whole minute straight without using filler words. It is way harder than you think, given a random topic on spot. And that's just one of the few things I feel like being able to come off as professional. We learn, good body posture, good eye contact. Just it's little stuff like that you can always, in other classes too, you can take into the business finance world. So I think that's important.
I can completely relate that back to a class I'm taking right now. It's called Acting for Non-Actors, but it's basically a public speaking class. We'll do tongue twisters. We had an assignment where we were given a random topic picked out of a hat. We had to talk about it for 3 minutes. We had to make speeches that we talked about for 3 minutes, and we're going to be developing those speeches. So it's a lot of learning how to speak effectively and powerfully as well. Because even if you have perfect grammar, if you're shuffling your feet, twisting your hands, looking down at the ground, that exudes a sense of weakness and uncertainty.
It's all in your
So,
appearance.
body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, speed that you're talking at, all of those things make a difference. And I'm sure even more so in the professional world.
Yeah.
As people love to say all the time, communication is key, not only in relationships, but, any type of relationship, business relationship, friendships. You need to be able to be comfortable with people. That's why people get on big stages. They always have the same pace. They make eye contact. They don't just stare dead at one person. They're, interacting with everybody because they're building a strong relationship.
Yeah.
And this goes for both of you, but how do you guys feel, how important is it to just put yourself out there and get the exposure? I know Harish has been very experienced in that field.
Very important.
And especially from a business point of view, some people end up going years without starting a business because they're just afraid to start. I had that talk with Marcus Lewis in my DECA project, so I want to hear your guys' point of view in terms of how important is it just to start and get going.
Even when that risk involved.
I mean, I know Mubishere started a business. I have not yet, but I haven't considered that either.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just in general with anything, it's really important to put yourself out there. Try
Yeah.
as many things as you can. because that's when you get the more you experience, the more knowledge you gain. Knowledge isn't just gained from, traditional like reading, learning, listening. You got to do.
Yeah.
And so I think the more experiences you get, the more equipped you are to make not valid, but smart business decisions like starting your own business. But I think Mubishere can speak to actually starting one.
A couple things that I have done, like if you don't understand something, and let's say you're on Instagram, probably using Instagram, and you go through like you're following like, oh, I follow this person because they like do X, Y, or Z, and I'm trying to do that, but they have they have a ton of followers. Who cares? But send them a DM. There's a possibility they can reply, and if they don't, well, then keep looking through them. Use them as inspiration. Shoot your shot. Oh. You miss all the ones you don't take, so you gotta try. You gotta put yourself out there. If you're not willing to put yourself out there, if you're not willing to fail, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
I think
mistakes make the man.
That's a huge point. Is like if you aren't willing to fail, then you aren't willing to succeed either. I think failure is a step of the way to success.
Back-to-back quote of the days here.
Wait, can you say that again? Repeat that for the viewers.
I said I think failure is a step on the road, is a part of the road to success. So
yeah,
there's no success without failure.
Exactly.
Love to hear it.
and do you think this may be like a stupid question? You guys in your economic classes learn probably about taking economic risks, when it's worth it, when it's not. Do you think you can apply that to taking risks in other parts of your life? Whether it's as menial as asking for a different flavor of ice cream than usual to something major like buying a car. You think you can relate that at all?
Yeah, well, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain how you would put that into words. I don't know if you got it better.
I also think I think Mubishere's right. It's very difficult to explain. I think the answer is 100% yes. I think the problem is that in financial and economic classes, it's a lot more quantified, right? Like, you gain this much benefit per dollar. But in real life, it's way more nuanced than that. But I think there definitely is a connection. It's just you need to think about it on your own, and it's much more difficult to explain.
Do you think learning about quantifiable risks helps you I don't know if idealize would be the right word, visualize or understand more nuanced risks as well?
Well, you got to be able to take the positives and negatives into account for the risk you may be taking, like buying a new car. Are you going to put money down? Are you not? Versus, should I change the flavor of ice cream? I always like this one, but this one's like, so it's a yes or no. Like for the car, it's going to be a larger risk, but maybe a better reward because it might last you X, Y, Z. But for the ice cream, there's little to no risk. It's like $5. So
I was gonna say the same thing. It depends on the risk that's being taken. So learning quantitative risk decision making, it definitely helps with some things like buying a car. But if you're thinking about making an ice cream flavor, it helps a little bit, but just to a lesser extent. It's not as simple.
So taking AP macro won't make me less afraid of asking out a girl?
Probably not. No, not at all.
I guess it really is all about the risk factor then, just seeing the.
I think every single decision that you take has some level of risk attached to it.
Yeah.
But it's also wrong to just go through your life analyzing the risk of everything you do. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta just do something, and then you'll find out if it was good or not. But for some big decisions, it's also important to take a step back and look at the risk of doing what you're doing.
Bigger picture type stuff.
Right.
I think of looking at the failure part of it. I think something that I've been going by this year, and I've talked about it a lot with Ranit, is embrace the failure. I think that so many people get caught up of if they've made too many mistakes, like they can't get back out of that hole. But you can learn so much from your mistakes, and I especially think like starting a business. I know people that have tried starting businesses for years on years, and it never grows. And you just have to keep on trying. And I know a lot of people that have tried maybe drop shipping businesses or some e-commerce business, and they're like, I've been advertising for weeks, and I've gotten nothing out of it. Like, this is pointless. I'm quitting. Like, it takes time.
It will not happen right away. You need to be able to, you have to be patient. If you're not patient, if you don't think that you're gonna be able to make it, you should just stop right there because you're not gonna have. You need the right mentality to continue.
Yeah, mindset's a big thing. I actually spoke with a good friend of mine recently. He talked about an experiment that some scientists did about shooting, I think it was free throws, and there were two groups. One group shot the free throws and then they just like waited. Another group, when they weren't shooting, they visualized themselves doing the free throw shot, and they had very high levels of successful free throws. So you have to visualize yourself being able to do something, and that will help you quite a bit.
Yeah, I do that in sports a lot. If you guys, listeners, if you guys aren't already doing that in sports, really anything in life, I would highly recommend it.
Gotta visualize yourself, though.
Gotta visualize. But as we wrap up today, just one more thing. As I was talking about Ryla, 10th graders, if you guys are listening right now, definitely take Ryla, explore that opportunity. You can go to the office. Probably applications will be out soonish, maybe April, but definitely a great opportunity. Thank you, Mubishere and Harish, for joining us today.
Thank you, boys, very much.
As always.
Great conversation.
Great conversation. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye.